Hello, all my wonderful Sagittarius friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is JJ, aka JDevianceJ, aka the Mercurial Maiden. I have many names. So, if you haven't already checked it out, I have uploaded a general July 2020 reading yesterday, which applies for all signs and will provide the fundamental reading to this reading, which I'm about to give you, dear Sagittarius. But for the purposes of this reading, we will be keeping it short. I will be drawing only one card or two, depending on how the cards show themselves in this deck, which I'm using. The Alchemy England 1977 tarot deck. It is a beautiful deck. It is. I'm really having a lot of fun exploring it, especially with all of you. The cards tend to show themselves in the strangest ways, creeping up the way this one has, actually. So I'm going to grab onto it now. So, your card, and it is also reversed. Wow, my fire sign friends, your cards are reversed for some reason. The last reading I did was for Aries. For you, Sagittarius, you've got the Three of Wands reversed. So, unlike other tarot decks, the minor arcana here, pips, are not as lavishly illustrated, right? So I find it useful to remember what these cards are like, how they're represented in the Rider-Waite or alternative decks. In this case, the Three of Wands usually is illustrated by someone who is looking upon their kingdom. They are not a king necessarily, but they've worked extremely hard to gain their kingdom, their fortune. And in this particular case, it being reversed, well, I'm not so surprised, really. Things have been put to a halt. Things have been put to a serious halt, really. Over the last several months, no matter where you are around the world, you have been in one way or another affected by this coronavirus pandemic. And I've seen a lot of businesses crash and fail. So if this is talking about you, Aries, and we'll give this a bit more context, right, by allowing me to draw a small card from the tiny universal Waite deck, which I'm also having great fun with. Just to give a bit more context, right? These cards I had already shuffled yesterday, and I left them in their very same position because I wanted to come back to the readings today. Okay. Two of Cups. Interesting indeed. Interesting. Okay, cool. Right. So, where do we go from here, Aries? Just give me a minute to salvage this little tiny deck before it spills everywhere. Okay. So, Aries. Little bit of a reminder of what I recorded yesterday for the general. We talked about Venus retrograde. We talked about Mercury retrograde. We basically talked about some having certain difficulties reconciling with others, or having difficulties making decisions for themselves, decisions that may be involved to loved ones, current relationships, business relationships, the future of all such relationships, right? And while typically speaking with the Three of Wands, we are talking about someone that has spent so much time building their empire, so much time focusing on their business such that they could then reap the benefits of a wonderful business like that. It doesn't come without its sacrifices. Sacrifices really affecting your more emotive life, your relationship life, your inability to have dedicated as much time as you would have wanted really in having a relationship with others, a healthy one, a functional one. This is not to say that you don't have the relationships at all. It is just to say that we make certain decisions in life to focus our time and effort to one thing. By doing this, we are giving our all to this one thing. And in the case of the Three of Wands, again, it is typically a business. It is typically growing yourself in the e-commerce world. If we're going to think about, digital trends these days, a lot of businesses being online. But it can also be bricks and mortar. And seeing as we've gone through a period of lockdown, a lot of these businesses, mainly bricks and mortar businesses, have been hardest hit, especially, those that rely on their clients walking in, being present in physical form. Bookshops are affected unless their business is online. Retail has been seriously affected. So no matter how large of a retailer you are, if your business is not online, to make up for the loss of physical walk-ins, then you are in a hard spot. But there are a lot of people that are extremely traditional when it comes to the way that they want to present the world with their businesses. A lot of people love having that physical connection with their clients and don't want to or don't have the resources necessarily to turn to the online world. But you may be finding yourself now, thinking, this may or may not apply, right? This may or may not apply to you. Now, if you found yourself in a difficult spot that way, then you've also had a lot of time to reflect on yourself and your losses. The losses coming as a result of your focus on your success. Now, isn't that a funny oxymoron? I love oxymorons. So you'd find yourself looking towards this potential now to unify, to win back lost time, to rejuvenate and really pump in some, much needed love and health and nutrition into your relationships. The Two of Cups doesn't have to be romantic, but it is very much a soulmate connection. You can have soulmate connection with your children. You can have soulmate connections with your siblings. But you can also, of course, in its more natural definition, have a soulmate connection with a romantic partner. This romantic partner may have felt like you weren't there enough over the years. This doesn't mean that they love you any less. This doesn't mean that you love them any less. Particularly if they are your soulmate, they definitely understand your desires to build a healthy business, which will do nothing more than actually build a fulfilling, healthy life that you can sustain for the both of you, right? Whether you are male or female is not the point either, because we've got equally successful female entrepreneurs out there being breadwinners. So I see this very much as a positive. So where one door closes, another one opens. We find ourselves having the luxury of time that we can spend right now with our loved ones. Sometimes these devastating events happen, and they happen for a reason. They happen because we need to be reminded of what truly matters in our life. And we may have indeed, heard this time and time again, from family, friends, and others, basically, trying to remind us, as we move about being our busy bees, that we cannot forsake what is fundamental to a healthy life, which is relationship. And it is upsetting to think that a lot of people have not had the wisdom to think along those lines, and that regardless of a lot of people, losing loved ones, either to this coronavirus or to natural causes, or simply put, just not being able to physically connect with their loved ones because they've had to isolate themselves. That alone, should have allowed us to formulate even stronger bonds. Your heart grows fonder, right? The further away you are from your loved ones, and you really begin to miss them. There is no excuse. And yet, unfortunately, some of us have, for one reason or another, been suffering the complete opposite, where we so wish to connect, and to connect in any way, but for one reason or another, certain people may choose not to connect with us and not to embrace the ones that they miss, and to remain in their bubble. And this often leads to us obviously thinking, we regret potentially not being there for them sufficiently. You start thinking, oh, maybe they were right all along to basically insinuate that I wasn't there. And so they harbor these tough feelings now for me. But how can I rectify that? How can I bring more positivity into the relationship? How can I help them see that I wasn't doing this to hurt anyone? I was doing this because I simply felt that at the time I needed to focus my efforts on studying, on building a business, whatever venture you decided to take upon yourselves, which may now be suffering a little bit. So I'm still so very happy to see this Two of Cups appear in the reading for you, because it obviously shows that not all is lost, and nothing is ever lost, really. Just look within yourself and great insight will come to you. So I hope that you enjoyed this reading, Sagittarius. I want to thank you so much for your time, for clicking to view this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to share your thoughts, you're more than welcome to, whether that's in the comments section beneath or by private email. I will make an effort to read my email. So thank you so much again, and much love to you. Have a good rest of the month. Bye.